we're diving back into the starter debate, but this time with the definitive data to back it up. Now that I have access to the full game, I've brought every starter to level 50, and I maxed out their IVs to observe their true stat ceilings. To isolate their base performance, I've cleared out all EVs. We're looking at these starters in their purest form to see who truly dominates the meta. Before we dive into the data, I need to give you a massive reality check. While you can technically catch these starters in the wild, the spawn rates are honestly pretty terrible. I spent 3 precious embargo days. Thanks to Team 17 for providing me with a review copy, so I could hunt down these to get proof of their locations for you. So if you appreciate the sacrifice of my sanity, do me a favor and hit that like button. Now look at this trailer right here. You know how games have that tiny disclaimer at the bottom? Actual footage may not represent gameplay? Yeah, Beehive Studios definitely forgot that part. You literally have better odds of finding a full odd shiny with its hidden type and the perfect ability before you ever see 3 starters together on the overworld. I spent over 20 hours testing this, and the trailer is actually a bit misleading. For example, it shows Queccha in Area 6, or Darkwoods Forest, but it's actually tucked away in Area 4. If you're determined to still hunt them, here's the real locations. Mewaii is in the Toxic Plains section of Plains biome, right at the start. Vortail's over at Iolic Island. You'll find it roaming on the upper cliffs once you get the water Holocan power. Ozelash is right near Mewaii, in Area 23. Salabel is up at Suvius Peak. And as I mentioned, Queccha is actually in Area 4. Honestly though, save yourself the headache and use my GTS trick from my previous video. The only caveat is, it's a little longer now because you don't access the online feature after defeating Paimon. You will have to progress the story after talking to Alesh, and it's like 5 minutes after that. And for those of you who lost hunt your starters in the demo, or maybe you already have all 5 and you're wondering, do I really have to hunt them all over again? You don't. Appendix Q lets you swap your ability whenever you want, so you could easily switch to the OP ones I'm about to break down. And with that out the way, let's get into this, yeah? Starting with the cutie patootie, Mewaii. The data shows she doesn't strictly excel in one offensive category. Instead, she maintains a respectable spread across defense, special defense, and agility, Lumentale's version of speed. This makes her a premium candidate for an all-rounder support. Her typing is interesting, weak to electric and ice, but resisting chakra, geo, and virus. Remember, in Lumentale Memories of Trey, weaknesses are species specific. For example, while Smellwing is also a virus type, it's weak to aura and resists anomalous and demon, totally different from Mewaii. Regarding abilities, I'm doubling down on my previous statement. Unrelenting Heart is suboptimal. Now that we know that the Felice's personality allows you to heal all allies for 10% HP by spending an extra SP, why settle for a B tier damage dealer when you could have an S tier support? The real star is her second ability, Contagion. This is a meta-defining tool. It applies a virus weakness before the attack connects. This allows you to force a super effective hit and guarantee a TP even against neutral targets like Molupom, or ones resisted like Mushwick. It even bypasses a virus nullification from Pinchop. She could evolve at level 18 into My Deli, where the utility only gets better. If you stick with Unrelenting Heart, then it changes into the Stunner ability. She becomes a fantastic physical deterrent, as the wording isn't specific, but after my testing, it's only physical attacks that trigger the passive. In terms of skill, Pat is a reliable option for boosting any ally's defense, ensuring they survive long enough for Felicis to get full value. Acid Shot is your primary virus DPS, outscaling Bacterial Smash when upgraded. Treatment should be your priority upgrade. It's essentially a targeted recover, giving you complete control over your team's sustain. Aegis provides a 50% shield that scales with the target's bulk, and the ibuprofen and painkiller combo allows you to neuter an opponent's offense by 2 stages. Poison Cloak and Electrocution has high PvP potential for TP manipulation and SP denial. My Deli is the backbone for any serious team with Stunner, and she enables monovirus teams with Contagion. My Deli evolves at level 40, and there's 2 different paths here. First, there's Mega Mitosa, the Mythos 3rd evolution. Her stats take a considerable jump in special attack and special defense. She picks up the anomalous typing, which really opens up her utility. If you keep Stunner, it'll transform into Volatile. This is actually pretty decent. It lets Mega Mitosa move before the enemy to either patch up an ally or drop a debuff. Personally, I still prefer the original Stunner for its multiple target potential, as Volatile only affects her. However, with her boosted special attack, her Vino Beam hits like a truck. Plus, Wrathful Spite is a total game changer. It's essentially a counterattack that scales based on how much damage she has soaked up throughout the fight. Given her natural bulk, she could have some clutch reverse sweeps. Then we have Dulagami, the Logos evolution. She shares a similar growth pattern, but her physical attack and special attack are the standouts. As I've mentioned before, this isn't ideal for a Felicis Animon. I would have much preferred to see these points into her defensive stats. On the bright side, she gains the water typing, which changes her weakness to now grass rather than ice. If you keep Stunner, you get the Parting Gift ability. But since Dulagami has a huge upgrade to 3 SP, Parting Gift feels like a waste since you have to leave the battlefield for it to activate. I'd rather keep that extra SP active on the field. If you do go this route, Contagion is definitely the way to go. That extra SP is fantastic for supporting allies with enhanced actions. Tonic Water is another standout. It clears negative statuses while boosting damage. If you pair her Riptide with Keikatora's Shard Rain, you're basically creating a ticking time bomb. Your opponent has to end the fight fast, or they will melt to the damage over time. My Deli is a great middle point, especially since she could use the Ambu box. Think of it like Eviolite, but all stats. It's tuned down from the 50% though to 20%, but it still makes her a viable support. For her final forms, Mega Mitosa is your special defense wall with a very nasty counter, while Dulagami is your SP battery for stall teams. Next up is a Vortail. She has a highly specialized stat line, with special attack as her primary stat, and agility right behind it. This clearly defines her role as a special attack sweeper. She resists water, ice, and ancient, but is weak to electric and demon types. Her first ability, Lucky Breaker, is essentially Scope Lens and Serene Grace combined into one slot, highly potent for RNG heavy builds. However, for consistent competitive play, Guiding Light is the superior choice. This is the aura equivalent of Contagion. It guarantees a TP on every aura attack by forcing a weakness hit regardless of the opponent's natural resistances. Vortail evolves into Vertex at level 18. I originally thought Tearful would be okay, but in practice, it's a wasted slot on a kit this offensive. If you need agility control, Dazzling Flash is the better analytical play, because Guiding Light turns it into Guarantee P and your speed advantage. Slicing Wind remains your bread and butter nuke. It can delete almost anything thanks to Guiding Light. I've used Nostalgia to one-hit KO bosses. Do not underestimate the power of dual defense reduction in this game. Conversely, Piercing Squall and Glistening Wind felt unnecessary in PvE, likely reserved for niche cases in PvP. Updraft is unfortunately a joke in both modes, as the damage reduction doesn't compensate for Vortex's low natural bulk. However, if your team has leftover SP, Brilliant Beam acts as your Fire Blast, 100% accuracy, and total decimation. Vortex is a uber tier threat that forces the opponent to have a specific answer or they lose the game. Vortex hits its stride at level 40. Wefun, the Southern evolution. It enhances those base stats to be an even better god tier special attack sweeper. It gains the Chakra type for extra stab damage, and Lucky Break transforms into Martial Soul. This shifts the focus from Aura to Chakra, though I personally still lean towards Guiding Light for that guaranteed weakness hit. Spirit Surge is essentially Slicing Wind clone. Honestly, outside of the raw stat boots, Wefun doesn't feel like it gains much from this evolution, since Guiding Light remains the superior ability. It kinda makes the Chakra type feel a little redundant for now. We'll have to wait for my full Vortail guide to see if the Chakra pool makes it any better. On the flip side, we have Forsazin, the Northern evolution. This is a total pivot from a sweeper to a physical wall. Its attack is high enough to make it a threat, and the ice typing swaps its weakness to Anomalous and Fire. Lucky Break turns into Hard Boiled, which is easily one of the best tanking abilities in the game. It cuts damage by 50% since they can't crit you anymore, and denies them TP. That's huge! Updraft actually gets a niche use here as it bolsters our defense even further, though it does leave our special defense a bit of an Achilles heel. Forsazin gives you AoE options like Slicing Fury for clearing out groups. If it's on an ice team, the Snowplow jumps to 120 base power if it follows up an ice attack. Overall, Vortex is a solid bridge. Wefun just doubles down on being the best Aura special attack sweeper in the game with Guiding Light, while Forsazin completely reinvents the line as an incredibly tanky physical attacker. Now, if you enjoy deep dive breakdowns like these, I'd love for you to join the community, as I'm currently on a journey to hit 1,000 subscribers before spring ends. Your support allows me to provide this level of analysis for upcoming titles in the genre, like the open world monster tamer Aniimo, or what about A-Drive's Elestrals Awakening? If you're enjoying the data so far, consider hitting that subscribe button. But we're not done there yet. In the middle of the pack is Ozelash, functioning as a mixed wall breaker. He leans into physical attack, but has the special attack and agility to keep opponents guessing, very reminiscent of a mixed Salamence. He resists water, grass, and ice, but is vulnerable to Anomalous and Geo. I previously thought Recharge would be OP, but Lumentale lacks a common discharge equivalent, making it niche. Instead, you should always run Spark. This ability forces an electrical weakness on the target before contact. When you pair this with the Fewer Personality, which is a 30% potency boost, Ozelash becomes a furious hunter. He evolves into Kalzur at level 18. While I once liked Focal Point, it's too slow and unreliable when compared to Sharpen, which provides a +2 attack boost for an immediate sweep. Shock is your primary nuke, while Electro Ball allows you to pivot into special attack if you hit a physical wall. Thunderball is even better now, generating TP and increasing damage for your allies. The standout move, however, is Bolt Rush. With Spark and Furor active, back-to-back Bolt Rushes during a TP window will literally delete 4 Animons at once. Depending on the meta, Zeta Volt Beam will be good or overcostly, because it could rip right through any specific physical tank to keep your sweep going. The agility boost from Bolt Rush makes him terrifying once he gets a single turn of momentum. At level 40, Kal'Zir becomes a beast. By Asphalt, the Mythos form gets a massive attack boost and a slight special attack jump, though it does lose 2 points in speed. It's a physical powerhouse that looks every bit of the lion it has become. It picks up the ancient secondary type, and Recharge turns into Unrelenting Heart. If you could trigger this at will, that massive attack stat becomes terrifying. That said, I still like Spark for that reliable 50% damage increase. Don't worry about that speed loss either. Turbo Vortex makes it a non-issue by giving you a speed buff. Just remember, it's a special attack. And then there's Axisio. At 140 base attack power, combined with Furor, even the tankiest physical walls are gonna feel the pain. Biasvault is essentially Kal'Zir's true potential form. Then there's Zenicore, the Logos form. This shifts from a physical-leaning mix attacker to a special focused one with a much higher speed. It gains the Data type, which swaps its anomalous weakness to Virus. Recharge becomes Perfect Weapon, a much better ability since it prevents your powers from being neutered. With this high special attack, you could take advantage of Dark Bolt. It's a conal electric attack that could devastate 3 Animons at once. Be careful, however, as it does cost 20% of your HP. If you don't like that risk, then Glitch Wave is a great alternative. It hits everyone without the HP penalty. If you boost this with Furor, you're putting a massive dent in the entire enemy team. Overall, Ozelash line remains the king of wall breakers. Biasvault leans into that raw physical power, while Zenicore offers a faster special attack oriented build. Salabel is the fastest starter in the game, though her other base stats are initially average. She resists Chakra, Demon, and Fire, while being weak to Aura and Geo. Her Eye for an Eye ability is an interesting way to capitalize on stat changes, but Corruption is the more analytical choice. Corruption provides a guaranteed 50% damage boost by forcing a demon weakness. Salabel's speed combined with Corruption and a Horan personality is a recipe for disaster for your opponents. At level 18, she evolves into Vile Ender, and the stat changes take a surprising turn. Her special attack actually surpasses her agility. She becomes a mixed wall breaker with a special bias. While I liked Startle in the demo, Betrayal is the real game changer. Forcing enemies to attack their teammates is one of the strongest forms of disruption I've ever seen, potentially acting as the only counter to Vortail and Ozelash meta. Cunning Strike provides free TP via corruption, while Infernal Wave single-handedly carried 80% of my playthrough. Malevolent Orb serves as your delete button for high-value targets. Vile Ender went from a simple speedster to a top-tier tactical threat that could dismantle entire strategies. Vile Ender evolves at level 40 into 2 different bruisers. Her Ogre, this Southern form, focuses heavily on attacks and loses quite a bit of speed. It gains the Ancient type and trades Eye for an Eye for Heavy Hitter. This is scary. It turns critical hits from a 50% boost into 100%. With this kind of bulk, a master plan actually looks like it's viable. You could also run Pyro Charge or Energy Slash to take advantage of Heavy Hitter. But the real wow factor is Plus Ultra. If your HP drops below 30%, all stats jump by 2 stages. It's a Protect the President playstyle, and once Horoger gets that boost, it's game over for the opponent. Goldrago, the Northern form, goes the defensive route with a slight bump to the special attack. It picks up the Data type, changing its Geo weakness into Virus. It swaps Eye for an Eye for Easy Going, which is okay, depending on the meta, but Corruption is usually the better call. It also gets a Lag Switch, which lowers the enemy's agility by 2 stages, which is better than Startle, and helps set up Betrayal. Overall, Salabel's middle form Vile Ender is already great, and it could use the Ambigu box for a much better disruptor role. Poor Ogre is a terrifying physical bruiser that could one-shot almost anything with a critical hit, while Goldrago is a go-to bulky special attacker. Finally, we have Queccha. My early guesstimates on his bulk were slightly off. He's actually closer to Mewaii in terms of tanking. However, his attack stat is formidable. He resists Anomalous, Electric, and Geo, while being weak to Chakra and Virus. Like Mewaii, his last leg ability is suboptimal. For the story and PvP, Fracture is the way to go. The Geo version of the weakness forcing ability provides free TP on every Geo hit. Queccha evolves at level 18, and 2 builds open up. The tank route uses Harden EX, which is +2 defense, and Attract to force aggro, while Protective Wall and Aegis shields your setup sweepers. If we want to go to the offensive route, Seismic Step combined with Fracture and Serum is a match made in heaven. If you high roll this, you can net 4 TP in a single usage. Shard's Rain is the glue for the stall meta, providing damage over time that ignores all defenses. Whether he's fueling your team with TP or slowly ticking down your opponent's health bar, Queccha has carved out a unique high value niche. Finally, Queccha evolves at level 40. Barangu, the Mythos form, is a solid upgrade that gains the grass typing. It trades that useless last leg for Bonehead, which is great if you teach it some moves that have recoil. However, I still prefer Fracture. Like Dulagami, Barangu gets 3 SP, which is a massive utility boost. For the offensive builds, Log Training is incredible. It buffs your attack, defense, agility, and critical power all at once. It is quite expensive at 5 SP, so you have to time it right. It also gets a Leaf Sight for a more agility control. For something that looks a bit lackluster, Barangu is surprisingly a top tier physical tank or TP generator that provides 3 SP for the team. Meteor, the Logos evolution, turns into a pure mixed sweeper. It gains the fire type, which removes our anomalous resistance for fire, and we lose our virus weakness for water. The funny part is, if Last Leg was ever going to be good, it's on Meteor, but it changes to Eagled Eye. This increases our accuracy, ensuring its attack never miss. While Fracture is usually better for PvE to abuse its offensive spread, Eagle Eye does have its places in PvP. Diamond Shield and Mud Blast provides great coverage for Geo, and Flaming Arrow acts like the fire version of Shard Rain. We have 2 dots, and we compare this with Dulagami, which is just unfair. Overall, Queccha's line is incredibly versatile. Barangu is your 3 SP physical wall or setup sweeper, while Meteor is a high-speed mixed attacker that can melt teams with stackable damage over time. As you can see, all the starters excel at something different, and each of them has the potential to carve out a spot in the meta. But there's one last thing before we wrap this up. For those of you who watched my 10 mistakes video, you might have seen me showing starters with second types. I used the mystical relic on them, but it turns out they actually got bugged. I reached out to developers and they confirmed this, which is honestly a huge missed opportunity from Beehive Studios. Imagine the build crafting potential if this worked intentionally. You could take Barangu's Log Training and slap it onto Meteor for some truly broken combos. Maybe that's a system they could implement in their next title. Hopefully you found your starter after watching this definitive guide. And if you did, let me know which team you're putting it in. And if there's any unanswered questions, then ask down below. And if you enjoyed this video, consider checking out my top 10 mistakes video most players will make right here. Until the next video, I'll see ya.